Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so a lot of what we cover here can be, a bit abstract at times. But today we are diving into three completely harrowing true crime cases that literally sound like Hollywood blockbusters. We're talking missing children, stolen identities, and anonymous threats. These stories have twists and turns that feel entirely manufactured by some screenwriter, but I promise you they are terrifyingly real. We're going to look at a missing child who came back but wasn't really him, a woman whose entire identity was stolen before she even knew who she was, and a family just completely destroyed from the inside out by anonymous letters. Let's get right into it.
Now, the crucial thing to remember here is that every single twisted betrayal and shocking secret we're about to uncover is a documented historical fact. There is absolutely no fiction here. As we go through this, I really want you to keep reminding yourself that the people involved, they were living totally ordinary lives, just like you and me, until they were suddenly thrust into unimaginable nightmares. So let's start peeling back the layers on these unbelievable deceptions.
All right, part one, the girl without a name, the case of Sharon Marshall.
On the surface, Sharon absolutely had everything going for her. She was this brilliant high school student dreaming of an aerospace engineering career at NASA. Seriously, she was kind, totally respected by her teachers, and incredibly smart. For years, she excelled. But then, one single night changed everything. She was found unconscious beside a highway after what looked like a hit-and-run accident. But doctors, they were instantly suspicious. Her injuries just didn't really match a typical car strike. And what's even weirder is that witnesses noted she had actually been recovering in the hospital, awake and talking, until her father suddenly swooped in and blocked everyone from visiting her. Just 5 days later, she tragically passed away. And it wasn't until years later that a jaw-dropping DNA revelation completely rewrote her entire history.
It's just a terrifying contrast between the facade and reality. On one side, you have the public view, Sharon, the aspiring aerospace engineer, and our father, Franklin Floyd, who just seemed like a really protective, maybe slightly strict parent. But the reality, oh man, it is so much darker. Franklin Floyd wasn't her dad at all. He was actually a convicted criminal hiding out under a bunch of fake identities. And Sharon Marshall wasn't even her real name. The DNA proved she had actually been abducted as a young child by Floyd. He took her from her real mother and forced her into this horrifying role. The guy she lived with wasn't her protector. He was literally her captor.
And the nightmare definitely didn't end with just a kidnapping and some fake names. As Sharon grew older, Floyd became incredibly possessive and violent. Friends started noticing bruises on her. And when she became an adult, Floyd actually forced her to marry him. It's just sickening. And the tragedy only deepened after Sharon's highly suspicious death. Floyd subsequently kidnapped her young son and, years later, actually admitted to murdering the child while he was on the run from the police. To this day, a lot of investigators firmly believe Floyd was the one who orchestrated that hit and run and murdered Sharon, but her murder remains officially unsolved.
Moving on to part two, the letters that destroyed, the village of the Crow.
So now we are transitioning to a quiet, peaceful little village in France, where we uncover a mystery that systematically destroyed a family from the inside out. And it wasn't a physical attack at first, but a prolonged psychological siege. And it all boils down to one agonizing number: 4. For 4 whole years, a family in this village received chilling, anonymous threats. Imagine 4 years of letters arriving with no clear motive, no explanation, just dark, twisted promises of revenge. Think about the intense paranoia of living in a tiny community, knowing somebody right next door is watching, waiting, and sending these letters, but having absolutely no idea who it is. And for those 4 years, no physical crime ever occurred. It was just pure, unadulterated psychological terror.
But, as you might guess, those threats eventually escalated into an unimaginable reality. After 4 agonizing years of letters, on one afternoon in 1984, 4-year-old Gregory Villemin disappeared while just playing outside his own home. Just hours later, the family's absolute worst fears were realized. A phone call came in, and shortly after that, little Gregory's body was discovered in a nearby river, his hands and feet bound. It's heartbreaking. And even now, decades later, this horrific crime remains completely unsolved.
When that phone call came in, just hours after Gregory vanished, the caller completely calmly claimed responsibility for the murder. This chilling composure earned the killer a terrifying moniker that plunged all of France into sheer horror and suspicion. The public dubbed them the Crow. It's such a haunting nickname, right? It perfectly captures that looming, dark presence this anonymous figure held over the family and, really, the entire nation.
The fallout from this murder absolutely tore the Villemin family to pieces. Because the letters contained such intimate family details, investigators instantly suspected it was an inside job. Uncles, cousins, they all became prime suspects. The paranoia became so toxic that Gregory's grieving father, absolutely convinced his own cousin was responsible, actually shot him dead in broad daylight. Then, in another massive crazy twist, handwriting experts came out and claimed Gregory's own mother might have written the threatening letters. She was arrested while pregnant and publicly vilified before the charges completely collapsed due to a lack of evidence. The true identity of the Crow? It remains hidden to this very day.
Okay, let's get into part 3, the boy who came back, the impossible imposter.
This case takes us down to Texas in 1994 with the bizarre disappearance of 13-year-old Nicholas Barclay. Now, Nicholas had a bit of a history of behavioral problems and trouble at school, so initially most people just assumed he had simply run away. But 3 years later, in 1997, the family got a shocking call. Nicholas had supposedly been found alive in Spain. But guys, the sheer impossibility of this is staggering. The real Nicholas was 13 when he vanished. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and was a native Texan. The person returned to the family? A 23-year-old man with dark hair, brown eyes, and a thick French accent. I mean, come on. But despite these glaring physical impossibilities, the family accepted him. They believed this wild, convoluted story that kidnappers had conducted physical experiments on the boy to alter his eye and hair color. No way, right?
While the whole deception unraveled when a private investigator started looking really closely at photographs, he compared the shape of the imposter's ears to Nicholas's childhood pictures, and they simply didn't match. It's like a fingerprint. DNA testing quickly followed, confirming that the missing boy was actually Frederick Bourdin. Bourdin was a highly prolific identity thief known to European authorities as the Chameleon. This guy had made an entire career out of stealing identities and manipulating systems to pose as displaced kids.
Bourdin's con is fascinating, sure, but it really brings up the most chilling question of this entire explainer: why? Why on earth did the family accept someone who looked, sounded, and acted completely differently from their own son? Well, some investigators suspect a horrifying possibility, that the family already knew Nicholas was dead. The theory goes that pretending this completely foreign stranger was their son was somehow easier, or maybe more legally convenient, than actually facing the dark truth of what happened to the real Nicholas Barclay. It's just a wild thought.
Finally, Section 4, Unsolved Mysteries Remain, the Lingering Unknown. As we start wrapping up this explainer, we really have to look at the terrifying threads tying all these stories together. We've explored 3 massive webs of deception, but honestly, the most unsettling part is what we still don't know. Despite all the facts we've uncovered today, these lingering unknowns are absolutely haunting. The ultimate truths just remain buried beneath silence. We still don't have an official conviction or a full confession for the murder of Sharon Marshall. We still have no idea who wrote those agonizing letters in France and murdered little Gregory. And we have absolutely zero clue what really happened to the actual Nicholas Barclay back in Texas in 1994. The imposter was caught for sure, but the missing boy? He was never found.
So, what should you take away from all of this? The ultimate takeaway is that behind every sensational twist and behind every single incredible true crime headline you read are real victims and real families. These were totally ordinary lives that got violently interrupted by individuals hiding right in plain sight. It just proved how incredibly fragile our perception of reality and identity can truly be.
I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. For every single unsolved thread we've discussed today, somewhere out there, somebody still holds the keys to these mysteries. Somebody knows what happened to Sharon, to Gregory, to Nicholas. It forces us to ask, are some realities simply too dark for fiction? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep questioning what you see, because as we've learned today, the truth is often wearing a mask.